So having properly greased up boots will for sure keep your feet drier longer. These boots all have Gore-Tex liners in them. So the less water that gets up against the Gore-Tex liner, the better chances you have of your feet staying dry. First thing I do is I use this little tiny soft wire brush, and I open up the boots and take the lace back off the laces so I can get in here, and I can brush out any debris and stuff that's stuck in here. You'll find that if you're in the mountains, this will be all full of dust and sand and stuff, and then if you don't clean that out first, you'll just coat it in grease, and then the grease will just like basically hold it against the boot and eventually cause wear against the leather. So clean it out first. These boots were so bad at the start of this trip that I actually just took some soap and water and wiped them down with a sponge to get them nice and clean. So once they're clean, the next thing you want to do is get them warmed up. Now, I've got a hair dryer that I use when it's not beautiful and sunny, but it's like super hot, and these boots are nice, like probably 20 degrees, so they're soaking up grease nicely. So the point for me is I want to apply multiple layers of grease, but a thin layer each time, and then the layer of grease will actually absorb into the leather, and after 4 or 5 applications, eventually the leather will stop absorbing grease. You can see that this guy is nice and dry. It's still absorbing grease, so I could add a little bit more to this one. There's this guy over here, you can see that it's not absorbing grease anymore. So that one's probably, yeah, you can see a few spots here. It's just got some grease on the outside, and it's been sitting out in the hot sun. So if it was still absorbing grease, it would be in there. Otherwise, it's saturated now, and this boot's probably ready to be cleaned up. The last thing I do is I want to make sure that there's no grease left over. Once they stopped absorbing grease, I want to remove all this grease from the boots, because if you have grease in here, it'll attract dust and all kinds of bad stuff, and then that'll basically just hold up against your boots and wear into your leather. So the next step here for me is just to carefully go over these boots and wipe off all the grease. Now, how I apply, I use Sno Seal, which is just basically a grease of some kind, and beeswax basically, and I use rubber gloves, and I just rub it into the boot here, and with my gloves, because it's just, then you can kind of get in all these little spots here with the grease and stuff. So works pretty good. Give this one a little bit more grease, and I can get into all these little bits here. Cool. All right, well, I'm gonna get these all cleaned up and then put them in the pile of stuff that's ready to go for the trip.